Hi, this is Sean Wallace, the Dark Destroyer from the Chase, and you're listening to The Late Shift. I don't listen to it, but it's probably adequate. Keep on listening, or else.
Hello, and welcome to The Late Shift. We are still the reorganised nationalist Late Shift.
No word from Val.
No, in Kathmandu.
I imagine it more like Stalin is in bed ill, so we're just kind of
Frolicking.
Yeah,
planning our takeover.
That's how the death of Stalin went. Frolicking. What will lead the Leyen state?
No, we're planning our own little coups.
But yeah, Val hasn't returned. James is Malenkoving about.
Who does that make you? If I'm Malenkov, you're giving me Malenkov. Who are you?
Someone who doesn't take power in the end.
Someone who doesn't even try.
I am Molotov. I believe the party line.
Okay, I'll give you that. You can be Molotov. 1 second, I realise.
I'm Steve Buscemi.
Wait. Khrushchev. Steve Buscemi. Third Premier of Soviet Union.
Yeah.
So in usual, carrying on one of the great Valentina traditions, every other episode has basically no intro. So on to today in history.
So Jonah, you have won the Late Shift Top Trumps.
Yeah, I'm going first. I'm also sneakily trying to host when James isn't watching. You see, moving us into today in history. But so my story.
I'm still picking a portrait.
You got your girdle on.
Yeah. This one, burn it.
My story, of course, 12th of May, 1846, comes from the good old US of A, when it was slightly less of A. It was collecting bits still. Manifest Destiny all. So 12th of May, 1846, the so-called Donner Party, sometimes the Donna Reed Party, set out from Independence, Missouri, for the New World of California. Now, I'm gauging from the blank looks on the two of your faces that Donner Party's not setting off any alarm bells.
No, neither's Missouri. Or this California you refer to.
But Missouri and California are states, James. California actually at this time was still in Mexico.
Are states like counties?
No. But the Donner Party is significant because it is one of the more notable instances of cannibalism in American history.
That took a rapid turn.
Fucking hell, that was
not where I was expecting it to go.
You're going along in your car, and I was like, where are we going, Jonah?
Cannibalism.
They just took some bite out of you.
I was thinking more like the car just shot into space.
Well, less cars, more ox-drawn wagons. Much more exciting.
More death.
Well, the game
tree.
I think if your car suddenly got launched into space, so that's 100% death. Did 100% of the people die on the Donner Party?
Actually, no. About half of them survived.
Therefore,
spoilers.
That your hypothetical is a far more deadly situation.
You'd rather be with the 19th century cannibals than in the space car.
Then be thrown into space like some kind of Hot Wheels gone
Tell
mad.
you what, most of the people in here aren't remembered. You'd be remembered as the man who was fired into space. In a Ford Fiesta.
Or would I just vanish because no one looked at the right time?
True.
Could I just ping up into space?
One of those alien conspiracies.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway, some background. Like I said, at this point in American history, big chunks of it that we now know as American weren't American. So, for example, California and New Mexico were still Mexican.
Yeah.
At the time this is going on, there's actually a war between the United States and Mexico over the ownership of some of these territories.
Is that where the Alamo comes from?
No, that's the independence of Texas, which is around a similar time.
Okay.
Sorry,
Americans. Idiot. Stupid. I don't know my American history. General E. Lee was the 4th president of the United States? Was that correct?
The fact that these places were not in America did not stop Americans
going there.
Emigrating. This was the epitome of manifest destiny. It's the idea that Americans had that everything between the Atlantic and the Pacific, not including Canada, belonged to them. So off they went in their wagons, and they followed something that you might know called the Oregon Trail.
Yeah, I've heard of the Oregon
Hence why I mentioned death and dysentery. There's lots of people dying. So, more people dying than the space car.
No, because as I said, I'm talking on purely hypothetical levels.
Away from the fucking space car. Take your hands off it, it's dangerous.
It is, it keeps flinging people into space.
It's cannibal as well.
Death and dysentery and slightly irate Native Americans who didn't like the fact you were flatly laying claim to their land and then walking across it. were all dangers on the Oregon Trail, because although these people are seen as pioneers and America has this kind of pioneer history, a lot of them were just common people who wanted a new life in the West because they didn't like what they were doing in the East. So they got in these big wagon trains and they went. So by the mid-1840s, there is a fairly well-established trail, the Oregon Trail, across America. Enter Lanford W. Hastings, who published a book in the early 1840s called The Emigrant's Guide to Oregon and California, where he proposed a shortcut in the Oregon Trail, which would save you possibly months of travel in your journey to California. So instead of going up through the Emigrant Gap in Oregon, you would turn at Fort Bridger, go over the Wasatch Mountains and the Great Salt Lake Desert.
Which always sounds good. The Wasatch Mountains. Like, that doesn't sound like anywhere.
As terrain to travel over, mountains and salt deserts are notoriously easy.
No, I was thinking also
time saving.
Also, the naming aren't very. Well, they're more Native American than American.
Yeah, it might as well be. Okay, so you take a left at Fort. What was it? Bridger.
Yeah.
You go over to Death Peaks, cross over the land of the Angry Savages, into something we simply call the Devil's Basin, and on the other side of that is the Land of Plenty.
Sounds bad. Even better was that Hastings himself, although he published a book, I think, in 1842, 43, having already been had not gone along the so-called Hastings cutoff.
Of course he hadn't.
Prior to 1846.
This is a man who looked at a map, really,
and said, "Oh, mine."
There's a bulge there where you could just go a straight line. Easy peasy.
It's like, yeah, he in my head, like, he's Gimli. He hasn't been there. The thing is just like, oh, it's horrible.
Yeah, everybody's dead.
So yeah, he claimed it was free of rugged terrain and hostile Indians. Both of those are lies.
The mountains.
That's not rugged. It's real smooth when you get up close.
No, really far away, everything looks flat.
To be clear, there were always mountains in the way on the Oregon Trail. The problem was, were there trails you could drive wagons through?
Yeah.
And the Hastings Cutoff did not have those. There were big boulders in the way that would...
Seriously, he would know that if he'd been.
Oh yeah, the huge ones that you would never think to go down.
You'd walk up and go, "There's a giant boulder. We should turn around."
Yeah. So I'd now like to introduce you to some of the... Because there are, by the way, like the Reed Donner Party at its peak is about 87 people in about 60 wagons. But they included the eponymous Donners, as chiefly George Donner, who was 60 at the time he went, who was married to Tamsin Donner.
She was 16.
44. Oh, so it was 16 years different.
16 years different.
And they brought with them their daughters, Elitha, Liana, Frances, Georgia, and Eliza. Also there was Jacob Donner, George's brother, his wife Elizabeth, his stepsons Solomon and William Hook, and their children George, Mary, Isaac, Lewis, and Samuel. And by the way, I think Samuel is 1 when they begin. And there's a German immigrant family called the Kessebergs, who actually have a child on the route. Big families going.
Yeah,
because that's the thing. These trails lasted a while.
Yeah, and I ain't staying off for that long.
And they've got.
And it took even longer when they took the Hastings Trail.
Yeah.
And they also had to bring with them teamsters or wagon drivers.
Yeah.
So the ones attached to the Donner family, you had Hiram O. Miller, Samuel Shoemaker, Noah James, Charles Berger, John Denton, and
Charles Berger gets eaten.
It's with an E, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, like...
No, B-U. No, like Berger.
Oh, like Berger.
And
please tell me...
Spitzer.
Spit roast.
You
sound like you're just coming up with random names for these people are food.
You know, it's hard to keep track of who gets eaten and who doesn't.
Yeah. Oh, would you look at that? It's Abraham Chewable.
Because I think it was basically a career at the time, was the fact that you'd have the people directing the routes to inform.
Yeah, you had guides and say like Fort Bridger.
Yeah, so they would get paid to basically just for months on end look after the things if they were ever attacked and stuff like that, try and defend them.
Yeah, so you had wagon drivers, you had local guides, you had people who claimed they could deal with the native tribes. Like Fort Bridger, for example, is just some guys set up a way station where you resupplied wagons and they made money that way. Essentially an inn.
Yeah.
And finally, because I won't mention all of them because we'll be here all night, but finally you have James F. Reed of Ireland and his wife Margaret, who brought with them their children Virginia, Martha Jane, James and Thomas. They also brought along James Reed's mother-in-law, Sarah Keyes, who died of consumption not long into the trip when they were still on the Oregon Trail and not the Hastings.
When you say consumption, you know, different kind of consumption.
Yeah, she was not consumed.
Okay, right. So, on a story about cannibals, you know, we need to.
Nothing is off limits.
You go get the facts straight.
Yeah, we should always be clear.
Died of consumption.
Yeah. So on the 20th of July, when they set off today, 12th of May, 20th of July, at the Little Sandy River, this is where their journey onto Hastings Cutoff began. Because the trail continues on.
Was the Little Sandy River, by any chance, a raging torrent that old Hastings had completely misdescribed?
Quite possibly.
Over the Sandy River, you get there, it's just rapids from start to finish.
Well, the thing is, this was you crossed it on the Oregon Trail, so if it's on the Oregon Trail, chances are it is not too bad.
Yeah.
Little Sandy River, by the way, I looked on the map, is actually next to a river called Big Sandy River.
America.
So, and Donner was selected to lead this party.
Any credentials? Or just...
He was American and he was quite nice.
I hope that is actually
No, that is literally what I found, is that Reed was dismissed because he was aristocratic, ostentatious and imperious, and European. Donner was American-born, charitable and kindly.
And did he have a gun as well?
Oh no, they all had guns.
They all had guns, come on, they didn't.
I'm just saying that was the only credential that he probably needed.
Neither of them
like being a sheriff.
had any pioneer experience.
Yeah.
They were just
it was
people
really...
from back
Well,
east.
to be fair to this party, you're picking between two people who neither have any experience. One of them is an aristocrat who's looking down his nose at you.
He's from Ireland, but they took him to be aristocratic. He was very abrasive. He rubbed people up the wrong way.
What I'm saying is, yeah, so you've got one guy who's robbing you up the wrong way, or you've got the guy who just kind of keeps offering you tea and coffee. Just saying.
As I said, all of them lacked experience in traversing any of the terrain on the Hastings Cutoff, and none of them had any experience dealing with Native Americans.
Well, I mean, it makes sense because the person that wrote that book didn't have any experience as well. So they're all in the same boat.
Well, yeah, beginner's luck.
It sounds like the only people on this route so far that have any experience is the raiders.
Tell you what, enter a man who does seem to know a little bit about what he's talking about. So there's a journalist, Edwin Bryant, was at Fort Bridger before he got there before the Reed Donner party, and had looked, bear in mind, at the initial stages of the Hastings Cutoff.
And he thought, there's a story here. These people are going to die. So I've got to follow them around.
And he thought, so he looked at it and he thought, there's no way that you'll get wagons through here, especially if you're bringing women and children with you, families, not just people travelling on their own. So he left letters at Fort Bridger advising the Reed Donner party not to take the Hastings Cutoff. But these were not received, and it is generally accepted that Hastings hid them.
Really?
Yeah. Essentially, he was advertising his trail by sending letters to the wagon trains that were coming from Independence, Missouri. And the Donners received these and obviously thought, well, we'll take it. Yeah, so at Fort Bridger, having arrived there, not received the letters, the Reeds and the Donners are joined by several other families, including the Graves family, the McCutcheons, and so on. And they're Teamsters. So as I said, this brings the Reed Donner party up to 87 people. And most importantly, they are the last group in that year's wagon train. There is no one coming behind them. All the people who were behind them have caught up with them and joined them.
And joined them all, gone past.
Because obviously you could only go at certain times in the year.
Yeah.
So, and these wagon trains, miles along. But so they were the last party to leave Independence in 1846. No one behind. So they set off on the Hastings Cutoff, and as we have just ran into the difficult terrain. So by mid-August, their supplies were running low, and they were still in the Wasatch Mountains. On the 25th of August, one of their company, James Halloran, died of tuberculosis. Was not eaten. On the 30th of August, as I said, supplies low. They had to set out across the Salt Lake Desert.
Salt Lake Desert, yeah.
So and when they set out, they were low on water, and their oxen were tired. So these things, there was no water and grass on the way either, because obviously it's salt desert.
Yeah.
Again, here returns Hastings, who, by the way, is with another party of wagons just ahead of them, and leaving letters with alterations, shall we say, to his cut-off pinned to trees behind him, because he knows the Reed Donners are coming up behind him.
Is he doing the path as well?
He is. He's with a party just ahead, and he's actually trying to guide them.
Yeah.
And at one point, they ride ahead and catch up with this other party and go, dude, like, this trail's crap. Help us.
Yeah.
And although in his letters he sent to the main wagon train, he promised to guide the Reed Donners, the Donner party, apparently he just rode back along the trail giving them general direction and then returned to this other party. So the Donner party was forced to follow in the tracks of this wagon group that Hastings was with. But in one of the letters he left, Hastings promised a 2-day trek to cover 40 miles of desert. It took them 6 days to cover what was in fact 80 miles of salt desert.
Really?
Interesting fact about salt desert, the heat of the day causes the salt crust to turn to a kind of gummy mass, which apparently came up to the hubs of the wagon wheels.
Wow.
So these wagons were getting stuck. At some point, some of the oxen became crazed with thirst and just ran off into the desert.
Isn't that also why? Is that why you also get the moving rocks as well?
Moving rocks?
There's been basically in these salt deserts you find like massive rocks, like huge rocks that look like they have drag marks, and that's because when they heat and the surface basically becomes like a goo, it slides slightly. But obviously, for ages, people thought that aliens were moving them and stuff. But...
Oh wow, I don't know that.
Yeah, because they have obviously a really big trail behind
them.
them.
Yeah, and sometimes they're just like right angles and weird patterns.
No, so anyway, so that they make it across the salt desert, and on the 29th of September they rejoined the traditional trail at Humboldt River. The cut-off so far has delayed them about a month. So much for saving them any time. At this point, they're resting on the far side of the river. Reed gets into an altercation with a teamster called John Snyder, who was beating one of Reed's oxen, and Reed intervenes, and Snyder starts hitting him with a whip. So Reed stabbed him under the collarbone. But this is actually, in the long term, will probably help Reed and help the party, because Reed is banished. Because although they were outside of US territory, so US law didn't apply, but Reed was so unpopular that one of the Germans, Kesselberg, advocated that they lynch him.
Really?
Because Snyder was quite popular, even though Snyder started the fight.
Started whipping a man, yeah.
So, but Reed was banished, supposedly without any guns or food. But his daughter rode ahead and left some for him. He then caught up with Donner, whose wagons were ahead of this group, so he couldn't have adjudicated. Teamed up with one of his wagon drivers, and then went off ahead. So he actually made it over the Sierra Nevadas.
Yeah.
And all pretty ragged, but actually made it to Sacramento Valley and Fort Sutter. Interesting fact: John Sutter, the man who settled Fort Sutter, was the owner of the mill where gold was first discovered in California on the American River.
Really?
Yeah, one of his foremen found it in the mud in one of their mill races. But his business collapsed during the gold rush.
Really?
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Because he ran a sawmill on the American River.
Yeah.
So Reed is banished, teams up with someone else, and ends up in California.
Ahead of the...
and this will help.
Yeah.
But I'm getting ahead of myself. So at this point, the oxen are tired. Everyone's being forced to walk. One of the guys who's about 80, a guy called Hardcoop, I think Kesselberg tells him to get out, walk or die.
Jesus Christ.
I
assume he picks die.
He walks and then dies, so almost gets the worst of both deals there.
Exile or death.
Yeah.
And so he's last seen sat on a rock, nursing feet that are so swollen they've split open.
Oh.
And is believed to have died of exposure. No one ever sees him again.
Really?
Yeah. During this time, there's repeated run-ins with Paiute Native Americans who shoot or steal or chase off their cattle.
Really?
So yeah, they lose about 100 oxen and horses. So by the time they reach the Sierra Nevadas, they're using mongrel teams of horses and mules and what ox they have left. So when it comes to winter, they reach what is now known as the Donner Pass in the Sierra Nevadas. The summit is blocked with 5 to 10 foot snowdrifts. So they decide to camp for the winter in Donner Pass. There are 3 pioneer cabins there, and some of the families take those. And then about a day's march behind them, the Donner family sets up tents. So they have little supplies, their oxen are dying, and they have little luck hunting, and none of them know how to fish, because the lake hadn't frozen over yet, but none of them fished. So apparently their initial food was boiled oxhide, which apparently turned into a kind of disagreeable jelly, or boiled animal bones, which apparently they reboiled so often to make soup that they just became brittle.
Really?
Oh yeah, and George Donner has gangrene in his hand. I believe he got the wound cutting wood, and so the wound becomes infected and his arm becomes gangrenous. So this goes on for some time, and there's something called the Forlorn Hope. So 17 set out on rudimentary snowshoes made of oxhide and oxbone. In testament to the harshness of the situation, many parents left their children behind and set out on this trek to try and get over the summit and into California, into what was then called into Sacramento.
I'm assuming they were going to go back for their children.
I'm sure that's the plan, but how likely they thought that to be even at the time is a serious question.
Yeah.
Because they faced 12 feet of snow. Many of them were malnourished. They had little inexperience, and after 3 days of hiking, most of them were snowblind. It's on this trek that they discuss they're running out of food, and one of them suggests that one of them should elect to die, so they can eat them. No one volunteers, and someone suggests that the first person to drop, they should just eat them. Shortly after, a man named Patrick Dolan did something we've encountered before with the the Russians.
Dyatlov Pass.
Dyatlov Pass. Began ranting deliriously, stripped naked, and ran off. He returned and died about 3 hours later. So he was the first confirmed
act of cannibalism.
Yeah.
Victim of cannibalism, I guess.
Yeah. But I think there was another point later where two of them set out to hunt, but by the time they'd returned with a deer carcass, another one in their party had been carved up and eaten. There were two men who had joined the wagon train at Fort Bridger, I think called Luis and Salvador, and the leader of the Forlorn Hope suggested that they should eat them. But another, I think, a chap called Graves, informed the two men and they left quietly, but they found them later dying of exposure, and the leader of the Forlorn Hope shot them both so they could be eaten. Really? So this cannibalism did mean, though, that 33 days after leaving camp, the surviving members of the Forlorn Hope reached Sacramento Valley. So then the people in California came to know about the plight of the Reed Donner Party, stuck up in the mountains. Although there was a war going on, which meant a lot of able-bodied men were serving. 3 relief efforts were made to rescue the people of the Reed Donner Party. And in the meantime, several died and were eaten. Some, like obviously George Donner couldn't move; his arm was so gangrenous. But one slightly tragic instance is William Hook, one of the stepsons of Jacob Donner, died after his rescue because he was so malnourished. The rescue parties made caches of food on the way up the valley, so they could use them when they came back. But William Hook was so hungry he broke into one and fatally gorged himself. Yeah, after his rescue. But yeah, and so when the relief parties arrived at the camp in the pass, there was more evidence of cannibalism. They came across one guy. When the party appeared, he was seen carrying a human leg, which he then threw in a hole.
Really?
Yeah. And there was one guy, Louis Kesselberg.
Yeah.
He was found alive, but only by a salvage attempt like a year later, as far as I can gather.
Really?
It was thought that he had murdered someone to eat them because he had a load of their jewellery hidden next to a pot of human flesh in the little hideout he was using. Really? He was found a lot time later. So yeah, of the 87 who entered the pass, 48 survived.
It does seem crazy though, the fact that they were questioning the first time, but it seemed like after the first time they ate human flesh, everyone was just like, "Oh fuck it, we've done it now." So broke that seal.
This is the thing. I expected them to be reviled, but a lot of people it was just a pioneer survivor story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So their endurance was praised in the press. They weren't lambasted or.
Was Hastings called up on his path?
Death threats were sent. Yeah, for sure. And I think one of the members of the wagon train promised to kill one of the other ones because the other one straight up told him that I ate your son.
Really?
Yeah. but he never went through with it. But Hastings received a lot of death threats.
I don't see why, well, I guess...
Fascinating. I knew nothing about that story.
It's used in mortality studies.
Really?
Yeah, to see who, because it was something like more women than men survived. No men over the age of 49 survived. No children under the age of 5 survived, or were less likely to survive. So essentially, it's been used to study who's in those scenarios, who's more likely to die and why. For example, at that time, the men were expected to take on a lot more than manual labour, so they had been kind of coaxing oxen and moving rocks and clearing brush, since the Wasatch Mountains. So that had weakened them before they got to the winter, and then they were still out cutting wood, and so on. So they had a higher risk of fatality.
Yeah, and injury. That's the thing.
Like George Don's gangrenous
hand. You just get injured, and the more manual labour you do, the more likely you are to hurt yourself.
But in truth, that is a hip-scoppity skim over the tale of the Donner Party. There are much more detailed accounts of who's eating who at what point, but I didn't want to get too bogged down in the detail, because chances are I'd forget and get it wrong. But that, in a brief, sort of circumspect way, is the story of the Donner Party.
Lovely.
What can go wrong when you listen to ill-informed folks?
Well, moving on, I also have a story. It is about the conclusion to an epic tale that we have already discussed.
Datloff Pass.
Yeah, Datloff Pass 2. Electric Boogaloo.
The Soviet Yeti did it.
Yeah. No. There is a certain group of people that I fell in love with once. And I...
Oh, is this a callback to an episode we've done before?
A certain group of boys who decided to ride a balloon to the
Balloon
North Pole and
Boys.
back. The Balloon Boys.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Saul, you missed the original telling of the Balloon Boys.
I was not there, but I have listened to the episode.
The Balloon Boys. Yeah. Well...
And now you're here for part 2, and Val isn't, so...
Yeah.
But there can only be one.
Yes.
So the Balloon Boys tale, there has
to be a missing member.
There has to be a trio.
So
the charisma and the grandeur of Balloon Boys tales is such that they shunt out one of our members.
Yeah, but was there 3 Balloon Boys?
I don't remember how many Balloon Boys
was it
were. I just remember.
I remember there was opium.
Yeah, that's what I remember. The fact they were getting really high and hovering a metre off the ground.
High in one sense, but not the other.
So, the Balloon Boys and this story is something I love about humankind. It's the fact that we have such a weird obsession with doing stupid shit for no other reason to
try again.
Yeah. So the Balloon Boys took their balloon to the North Pole and they all died.
So this really is Balloon Boys 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah, it is. Because this is the story, because on today, May the 12th, 1926, the airship Norge...
Was it Norge?
Norge. Yeah, Norge.
Scandinavian up.
Is the first balloon ship to get to the North Pole.
Was it the Finnish?
It is a Italian and Norwegian design.
Who would have thunk?
Yep. And it gets it. They do it. So 1926 is when the Balloon Boys are finally vindicated.
the gauntlet they've thrown down in an opium-fueled haze and picked up.
Wasn't one of them eaten by a polar bear at one point?
Where were the original Balloon Boys from?
I think they were. Wait, where were they from? I think Sweden, wasn't it? It was Swedish, and they.
Oh yeah, because the Swedish king was like, cool.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think. Yeah. So it makes sense that Norwegians were involved this time.
Yeah.
So this ship was a semi-rigid airship.
Okay. What does that mean?
It means it...
Well, Jonah.
Like the Hindenburg.
Okay.
In design, essentially. And it was designed by a guy called Umberto Noble.
Umberto Noble?
Yeah, Umberto Noble.
A relation of...
No.
Okay.
No, he was... and he started his construction in 1923 of this airship. And as he was building it, he made a deal to make it Arctic worthy for money.
Good start.
With the devil?
With the devil? No, with a company. So they were like, "How about you take this airship to North Pole?" And he was like,
"If you'll pay for the airship,
pay for it, yeah." And they did. So he was like, "Cool," and then he put a bit of fur lining on it.
Zhuzhed it up.
Zhuzhed up.
Oh, so it's like a winter skin.
Yeah. Like, yeah.
Did he do anything else to it?
A little Elsa plushie on the bow.
The envelope, if you will, which is the balloon, essentially. He pressurised it. He pressurised it and reinforced it with metal frames at the nose and the tail.
So wait, one of the things that he did was...
He then added a flexible tubular metal keel that connected both the ends of the balloon. And he actually covered this whole area with more fabric and used it for storage and crew space.
Oh, wow.
So actually, yeah, it's pretty cool. There was 3 engines and a separate control cabin were attached to the bottom. It was the first Italian Italian airship of this design to be constructed with a cruciform tail fin, which is essentially like crucifix style tail fin that we all know from the airship. Like this is really just
the quintessential
blimp that he's building here.
Already a step up from the Balloon Boyz is just balloon.
Yeah,
basically.
They were a bit more around the world.
The spirit lives on because the Norwegians hear about this and they want in. Because they're like,
Swedes have tried and
we're going to do it with Italian help. Which, if I ever heard a worse combination of attempted Norwegians funded by Italian equipment. So he gets a telegram by a man called Amundsen.
Amundsen? Who sounds more Egyptian than... Amundsen.
Amundsen, yes.
Oh, no, he's really famous. He was the rival to Scott.
Yes.
I remember because Brian Blessed told the story in QI, but I'm going to shamelessly rip it off. When he heard that Scott had... Because obviously he was the one who beat Scott to the Antarctic.
Yeah.
But when he heard Scott had died, Amundsen was in the bath. And apparently he stood up and just, exclaimed, like, he's beaten me. Because he knew that because he would be the martyr, would always be Scott of the Antarctic. And it would, take an extra 30 seconds for me to put Amundsen next to Arctic exploration. So he knew that because Scott had died, he would be the one famously Antarctic and Amundsen wouldn't.
And he was right.
Yeah.
I mean, the
maybe within Norway he's correct. I don't know why it was important he was in the bath. Maybe he made a big splash when he stood up all frustrated.
So, Amundsen telegraphs Noble and asked to meet him in Oslo, where he proposed the airship trip across the Arctic. At this point, he got more funding from the Aero Club of Norway. And he was given the name...
Sounds fancy.
He was given the name Norge, obviously.
Oh, so
Norway,
Norwegian.
The Norwegian's name. So, on the 29th of March...
So, the airship Norway.
1920. The airship Norway had a big ceremony.
Can you crack champagne on an airship, or is that not advised?
It doesn't say. In all my stuff, it doesn't say if anyone was throwing bottles at the airship as it went.
Maybe some Finnish vodka.
It wasn't in Oslo. It was in
Svalbard.
It left from Rome. It was delayed a bit.
It left from Rome.
I was going to say
because it was made in Italy. It was made in Italy.
It stopped over in Norway, right? It didn't go straight from Rome to the North Pole.
Yeah, and then the Norwegians went, we funded it.
It's like King George there, as I presume it goes straight up over England.
Yeah,
no,
fuck is that?
It arrives in Oslo after a few delays.
Okay.
On the 12th of April. On the 15th of April, it leaves, and it goes straight for Gatchina. Near Leningrad.
It is called Leningrad. When last we visited the Balloon Boyz, that was St. Petersburg.
Yeah, but now it's Leningrad. Because there's been a little revolution. So it arrived after a 17-hour flight, which I think is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
17 hours from Oslo to Leningrad. St. Petersburg.
Yeah, over the Baltic.
Yeah, 17 hours, which is a pretty fast little thing. Italian made, I just want to keep saying that.
It's a sports car sports car of Arctic airships. Niche category, but...
Wait, bigger question. How high off the ground was it?
More than the meter.
It says here there is no mention of how high it was, so I'm assuming
it's at least 2 meters.
At the ordinary height.
At the ordinary height, you would expect an airship, because no one felt the need to notice it by sticking their leg overboard and go, "That's ground. That's ground. That's not just a really
polar
big
bear's
cloud."
got it.
I'm just thinking, obviously, the Balloon Boyz were dragging there. So
Yeah, I know.
I'm just trying to work out how high.
When the Italians realised how fast it could go, did they try and set up a little Arctic airship racing circuit? Or
I don't know.
That'd be fun.
Race over the North Pole. That'd be pretty cool.
Back round to Italy.
So
keep going round.
Polar bears fulfilling the role that the Tuscan Raiders do in pod racing.
Yeah, swiping at you. When they arrived in Leningrad, they had to repair it for a week. So it turns out, speed good, it wears on the old girl.
Damaged?
I don't know.
Just weather, I guess.
But they also got collapsible rubber boats installed for emergency use, because this is forward thinking. Whereas the Balloon Boyz that we know and love,
opium.
Well, would have just had more heroin. They would have been like more opium. That's what they'd have got there. They'd have looked at their opium warehouse and they'd be like, "Oh, guys, this could only last us 5 years. More for up there 6." It's the 24th of April when the weather's good enough for them to leave Gatchina. They go up to Spitsbergen. The mast itself that it was to be launched off wasn't actually ready, so they had to build it.
Oh yeah, they have this big tower.
Yeah, big tower to build it just so they could leave from Gatchina, which I love. The idea this airship just lands one day. These Soviet peasants, newly formed Soviets, but these are fresh Soviets, look up and you're like, build
formerly Tsarist peasants.
Yeah, give us those rubber dinghies you've got there and build us a tower because we need to take off. And they'd be like,
In Italian.
yeah, why did you land?
I love it. The fact you could land this custom-made airship in the middle of the Soviet Union and just be like, cool. Back in the time, it was like I imagine like the equivalent proposition these days. Elon Musk landing one of his SpaceX rockets in Afghanistan.
Yeah, and then just being like him, like, hello, humble.
Can you build me a new rocket firer?
Yes.
Could you build us a launch pad?
Yeah.
Here near Peshawar.
I'm pretty sure it was a rocket firer.
A rocket fire.
Is that the proper term?
Yeah, that's the proper term.
Saul knows rocket science.
But rocket firer sounds stupid. No, rocket launcher. Come on, it's cooler. We've been saying it for years.
You hold a rocket launcher.
No, I launch rockets however I want. The act of launching a rocket, if it makes a rocket go vroom, it's a rocket launcher. End of discussion.
What if it makes good?
NASA, suck my balls. I hope they cut all your funding if that's what you call it. Rocket firer.
They didn't.
Who called that?
Me. I just called it a rocket fire.
It's a rocket launcher.
Can I calm down?
You get a little rocket launcher, you get a big rocket launcher.
Of course, it's a launch pad, James. Jesus.
So anyway, the airship finally left on the 5th of May.
After the peasants managed to build a tower for
Build a
them.
tower.
I imagine they were as befuddled at its leaving as they were at its arrival.
And then just left with a tower.
What do we do with this? How explain to Commissar? It's not good use of Soviet resource.
Yeah, so they went to a place called Vladslo in Norway.
Vladslaw?
And there was another airship.
I don't know why I'm saying like I know it. Just sounds Norwegian.
Yeah. There was another tower there for them to leave. Going north, and this is still there to this day. By the way, everyone. Cool. So it then crosses the sea.
Do we know if the Getchina one is still there, or was it repurposed as I know a tank barricade?
It doesn't say. It was probably turned sideways and fired at the Germans at some point.
From a
rocket firer, tower firer. Anyway,
these Soviet peasants became the Soviet Union's first aeronautical engineers, trying to make their own blimp.
So they arrived in Svalbard.
Yeah.
So they're really north now, and so far no one has taken too much opium, fallen off, crashed
by polar bears,
eaten by polar bear, lost their head. So there were 16 of them, including Amundsen.
You're next going to tell so they haven't taken any opium. No run-in with polar bears. They're more than a metre off the ground. Next, you're going to tell me there are some qualified Arctic explorers among them.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck me.
We have on ship. We have the designer of the ship, so he knows what's going on, and he's the pilot, which is Old Noble.
Yeah.
We have a polar explorer and expedition sponsor, Lincoln Ellsworth, as well as polar explorer Oscar Whistling, who served as the helmsman. Other crew were Heijamal Risa Larsen, a navigator, First Lieutenant Emil Horgan, elevator man. You have Captain Bridger Golbert, who's a radio expert. You have Dr. Finn Malmgren of Uppsala University, who is a meteorologist.
They sound positively overqualified.
Yeah, Frederick Ram, journalist, who sounds the least qualified. There was also a radio man,
not very qualified,
a flight engineer, a chief mechanic, a rigger, and 3 separate mechanics. Nobel's dog.
What was the dog trained in? Physics?
It's a mascot, but also was supposed to be the moral heart and soul and fabric of the whole trip. She was called Titina.
All we have to know now is it's a German Shepherd and James will actually cry.
Yeah, Titina is the dog. So
where's Amundsen in all this?
Amundsen was the expedition leader and navigator.
Oh, okay.
So he was there as well. It was a toss-up for a brief point.
Good at delegating, it seems.
Yeah.
To a lot of people.
A lot of people who were very qualified to not take a load of opium and get their heads bitten off by polar bears and crash land at any point. So, unsurprisingly, they left on the 11th of May at 9:55 in the morning.
From Svalbard.
Yep. They reached the North Pole on the 12th of May.
They did it in a day.
The 12th of May. It was the 11th of May, yeah. To the 12th of May at 1:25 GMT.
It would be like the 11th of May, 1920, whatever. Then literally the year later, a year and 1
They
day.
reached the North Pole, at which the Norwegian, American, Italian flags were dropped from the airship onto the ice. Relations between Amundsen and Noble, which had been strained in the freezing, cramped, and noisy conditions, became even worse when Amundsen saw the Italian flag dropped was larger than either of the others. So, standard Italian style. Amundsen later recalled, with scorn, that under the Noble, the airship had become a circus wagon in the sky. But I tell you what, they fucking did it though, didn't they?
I just like the idea, just that he obviously dropped the bigger flag and he's like, I built it.
Yeah, suck my dick.
I was the one that built this.
Yeah. But
eat my dick.
After crossing the pole, though...
So Amundsen was there, like, these things should only be used for not fun purposes, like going cold places.
However, there were some problems. After crossing the pole, ice kept growing on the ship. to such an extent that when pieces were breaking off, they would actually be blown into the propellers and were striking the fabric of the hull.
Not great.
Quote is, the ice forming on the propellers as we went through the fog and hurled against the underside of the bag had pretty well scarred up the fabric covering the keel. Though it had not opened up the gas bags or caused any hydrogen loss, we had used up all our cement in repairing the fabric.
Oh dear.
On the 14th of May, the old Norge reached the Inuit village in Alaska, where, in the view of worsening weather, the decision was made to land rather than continue. The airship was reportedly damaged during the landing and was dismantled and shipped back to Italy.
Oh.
There we go. Yeah.
By the Inuits.
No, I don't know if they did, fair play, because they seem to have a way of just getting random people they land next to do all their work for them.
Just like, again,
Build us a tower, dismantle our ship.
You
Bye.
there, bring your whalebone tools. We have an airship to dismantle.
Send it to Italy.
Italia. There you go. That is the legacy of the Balloon Boys. And the success that, yes, you can take an airship over the North Pole. You just require
less opium,
professionals, and
bigger airship.
Bigger, better airship.
Hydrogen also helpful.
Yeah.
I mean, what was the year difference? Because I think it was the 18 something.
Balloon Boys was...
Balloon Boys, I want to say...
Not quite 100 years, but certainly...
No, I thought it was like 1880 or something.
Yeah, about 40, maybe 40, 50 years.
Yeah, so instead of just a hot air balloon, you need, like, a blimp.
Yeah. So yeah, there you go. The Balloon Boys can sit quietly in their graves because it could be done.
Well, I don't know, they're Swedish and the Norwegians beat them.
Well, to be fair, but then the Norwegians got cut by the guy with the Italian flag. So really, the winners in all this are the Italians because their flag was biggest.
Which, I mean, they win so little in the early half of the 20th century.
So yeah, let them. Well done, Italy. The North Pole is your bitch.
Preemptory consolation prize for losing the Second World War.
And for Greece giving you one of those old biffins. So yeah, there we go. That was Today in History. 2 expeditions, one that ended in cannibalism and one that ended up with Italians and Norwegians not getting along. Now, that is ends Today in History. And what an exploration into history it was. Get it? Because, yeah. And now,
Pretty tasty one at that.
Eat the flesh of our fellow man. Or, perhaps the alternative, being taking a bite of our next segment, being Who Let Them Near a Keyboard? Don't eat people. Listen to the Late Shift.
What are you saying?
He's trying to cram in some puns.
Why?
I'm trying to do what Val does, but very badly. You know, she links all together.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to say... Okay, let me try that again. I'll do it in James style.
Today
in History, done! Boom! Gone!
Who let them near the North Pole? More like...
Who let them near a keyboard? Haha. Anyway, who let them near a keyboard? Well, it's been a couple of weeks since the new Avengers film came out, and I'm sure it's all been spoiled and all that kind of stuff, either through people on the internet yelling at you or by Marvel being unable to bring their own franchise to bear. So in spirit of Marvel's rip-roaring success and global domination of cinema, I've decided that my reviews this time will be exclusively of Marvel films. So every review is something in the MCU and someone's opinion on it.
Do we even have a choice of movies, or do we just have to...
No, you get 3.
I'm waiting for the curveball that is 1990s Captain America.
Yes, which is the correct answer to all of them. No, so
I guess it's definitely not going to be...
They are all... By the way, this is MCU films starting with Iron Man and continuing on until...
Okay, so proper MCU.
So it's the Feige era.
This era now. So no film before Iron Man will be included. No film outside of the MCU. So, you won't get Blade on here with the Sam Raimi Spider-Man. None of that. So it's only... So, let us begin. So the first review is... as follows. Just for the audience, again, I read these reviews as they are written, except I will occasionally change a tiny bit that will give it away. For example, the name of an actor, director, the actual name of the film, I will leave out or modify slightly. Beyond that, they are written as they are on the page. I will read them as they're on the page. So the first review is, the trailer seemed to me quite stupid, but I thought that it had to be some sort of a joke, and that maybe there was some interesting message underneath the machismo and warmongering talk. How wrong I was. I am sure that others have pointed out how pathetic this movie was. I know it is a waste of time, but let me reiterate. I think someone's autocorrect filled in reiterate after they'd written. You rarely see such a sexist, racist, and war-glorifying movie. Only something like the Transformers can compete with this. Yet this movie is another enrolment advertisement for the military. Sure, Don't we all know that the American military would never sacrifice innocent lives, brackets, if used as human shields, close brackets, or develop weapons that violate human rights? Not even Disney is that dumb. 1 out of 10. So your film options are Captain Marvel,
Okay.
Avengers Infinity War, or Iron Man.
I think it's Iron Man.
I thought it was Iron Man as well. Going Iron Man.
Iron Man it is. The correct answer is indeed Iron Man.
Yeah.
Because there's the whole bit where they are using human shields.
Yeah.
So the fact that was mentioned specifically.
See, I thought it was Captain. I thought you were going for Captain America because obviously, but then you
That
didn't.
would have been a bit meta. They're like, oh, it's war propaganda because the
The beginning is war propaganda. So that's what I was thinking. In my head, I was like Iron Man or.
and wasn't there? You know when the comics announced that he was actually a secret Nazi?
Yeah.
There
Hugo
were
Weaving.
No.
Secret Nazi.
No.
no, Hugo Weaving's a very public Nazi. You should see him at the market.
Prince Harry is a secret Nazi.
But I remember when he was actually Hydra. He was actually a Hydra plant.
Yeah.
They were actually American servicemen who wrote in complaining because Captain America had inspired them to, serve their country.
Really?
So the fact that he was a secret Nazi, they thought was disgusting.
It's also a really shit plot twist. So
Yeah.
that's my problem with it. Anyway, next one. Occasionally in life, there are those moments of unutterable fulfillment.
Isn't it inutterable?
Nope, it says unutterable.
Well, they're wrong.
Well, I'm sure they are, Jonah, but it is unutterable.
They are inutterably correct.
Yeah.
That's where I'm wrong. They look like a mug.
Which I cannot be completely explained by those symbols called words.
The letters are symbols. The words are collections. Sorry, I'm becoming one of them.
This sequel is one such moment. I do need to see it again. In terms of pure ability, I put it in top 3 sequels that I have enjoyed. 10 out of 10.
Please let us be Iron Man 3.
You have Avengers, Age of Ultron, Thor, Dark World, or Iron Man 2.
I'm gonna go Age of Ultron.
I'm going to go Dark World.
Please don't be Dark World.
Because Dark World, this is the thing. That is a glowing review, and I think Dark World is the worst of those sequels.
Yeah.
Because at least Iron Man 2 had Sam Rockwell in it. Being Sam Rockwell.
Right. Risk it for the biscuit is correct. Thor Dark World is the answer.
I just thought no one would be able to leave a good review
Those
for that
thing-
shit
yeah.
movie.
But on IMDb, 7.3.
Really?
That's why it's fucked up. That's what I mean. Like, that's not a 7.3. No, nowhere. No, just...
It's not even, it's below the Marvel mediocre line.
Yeah, which is a very, very kind of low bar as it is. Anyway, next review. Sadly, I had big expectations for this film.
Well, that's wrong with you. It's a Marvel film.
I was looking forward to this release, only to be dismayed.
It's
At
not
best,
released at all.
This movie made with 90% green screen sequences, but in reality, it is a discombobulated mash of garbage that takes way too long to develop any story whatsoever, and the storyline is thin and weak as nightclub whiskey, left stale overnight and repoured.
What?
The hype is overrated, and the movie is ultimately disappointing. May appeal to millennials who exist without a functioning brain cell. 1 out of 10.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Black Panther, Captain Marvel, Avengers Infinity War.
Long time to build up. Okay, think.
Considering the furore around Captain Marvel and the significance of Black Panther, I reckon it'd be pretty dicey work to find reviews for those two that weren't out and out offensive.
Metagaming it, thinking about James trying to find reviews about Black Panther that weren't racist.
That doesn't mean they don't exist.
But what was the other one? Infinity War.
Which one had a lot of CGI? Captain Marvel must have, because of the suit and the powers.
All of them. It's what Marvel does.
God damn. But even for a Marvel film.
I think Black Panther had the least CGI apart from the fucking huge city. But Captain Marvel only had a lot of CGI at the end because the majority of it obviously is her just going around the city.
Yeah.
with Sam Jackson.
I might say Infinity
Jamming
War.
with
then.
Samuel Jackson.
So you've talked yourself into Infinity War?
I have, yes.
I talked myself into Infinity War.
You shouldn't have. Black Panther.
Oh, wow.
What?
Black
Really?
Panther. Because guess what? I was willing to sift through all the racism. I was.
Was there a lot?
Oh my god. So many of them started with,
I'm not
I
racist,
support black rights, but this film is the worst thing that's ever happened to anyone ever, because mainly there were black people in it. Too many, with too much agency. I'm not racist.
One would have been enough.
Yeah. Seriously, it was appalling. And then same with Captain Marvel. There was a lot of like Brie Larson is a potato sack and stuff like that. Next one, it's a short but sweet one. So far, Jonah's in the lead, right, by one with only
Yes.
one.
Yes.
2-1.
Yeah, 2-1. Everyone in this film looks embarrassed to be here. 1 out of 10. So your options are
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Avengers Assemble,
Okay.
Captain America: Civil War, or Guardians of the Galaxy. Just to reiterate,
That's
everyone in this film.
Civil War was the good one.
Civil War. I hated Civil War.
No, wait, not Civil War. The other one, Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier was the good one. Civil War wasn't.
Yeah. So Avengers Assemble, Guardians of the Galaxy, or Captain America:
I
Civil War.
think, because I was initially thinking the actors look embarrassed, but to be honest, all of Civil War was pretty embarrassing. It was I was for Civil War. I like the idea that someone's like they look embarrassed to be fighting each other because it's so limp.
Yeah.
I'm Civil
Yeah,
War.
I'm going Civil War as well. No, straight, stop. Change. Guardians of the Galaxy. I said it before we chose. I'm going to change wild card, baby.
You've been saying Guardians of the Galaxy a lot, so
Yeah, I'm just going to say it now, just to get out of my system.
Civil War.
Ah, damn it.
Everyone in the film was embarrassed to be there. And I think, honestly, not a bad review. Bearing in mind, I've seen the paprika scene.
yeah.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
It's shameful. Shameful.
No wonder like Paul Bettany is.
The only person who's excited to be there is Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and I guess that is what the role he's playing.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to be here. Everyone else does just genuinely look like they're like, ooh.
Hey, have you seen that really old movie, Star Wars?
Next one. So this is the final
Well, maybe
one.
that-
But
maybe they
there
have
is
to
a
say-
bonus one, but I shan't count it because there's no way. There's no actual evidence how to guess it. But it just made me laugh that someone had left this review on IMDb. May I add? I actually lost. This is not that review, but this is the final review. I actually lost a lot of brain cells today. I should have trusted my instinct, which told me after 10 minutes of this atrociously written, poorly shot, nauseatingly acted nonsense that I should leave. But I said to myself, let's stick. Maybe it will redeem itself. Oh, but no. It just got worse and worse until it crossed all lines of idiocy. The characters were like disposable stick figures with no concept of personality at all. Jokes were bad, really, really bad, and you could feel how pathetically they were inserted into the movie just to give it some redeeming value in the form of comic reliefs, which also failed. I left in the mid-movie, as I could just as easily sit and stare at a blank wall and pay money for it. I still lose the money, but at least I get to keep my neurons alive. 1 out of 10. Iron Man 3. Ant-Man. Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 2.
Ant-Man was one of those ones that kind of slid under the radar. It was just such a nothing film.
I actually liked it. I liked Ant-Man.
I like bits of it.
Yeah. The bits that were written
Edgar Wright. Yeah.
here by Edgar Wright.
I actually got Iron Man 3. I would leave that kind of review for Iron Man 3.
I would as well. To be honest, some of these reviews I don't disagree with. Because some of them... Well, no, I'm not as harsh, but someone does need to call up more of Marvel's...
They don't write so hammily either.
Yeah.
This guy's really upset that he dropped from 200 IQ to 198.
Yeah.
Don't worry,
Well,
mate. Just watch some Rick and
I'm
Morty.
going to lose
and boost it
anyway,
back
so
up.
let's... Guardians of the Galaxy.
So, your faith has been rewarded. It was Guardians of the Galaxy.
I knew if I said it enough, it'd be right.
Yeah. Here is the... Are you guys tied?
No, it's
No,
3-2.
3-2. Okay, we can do the next one if you want to include it or not. Because
Well, it depends. If I win it or not, then
you could draw. Jonah, do you...
No,
accept- do you
I consent.
Consent to
If it is, yeah. Let's have this little.
Let's have it out. The bonus one, may I add, is a review on IMDb, where I assume you think we review the film and its contents. Here is the review for this film. When I bought the film, the Blu-ray box smelt like shit. 1 out of 10.
Now, guys, that's some clues. So it's on Blu-ray, and also it's already out on DVD.
That was the whole review.
And I'm piecing this together, guys.
Is it like a way?
This
a way of saying that the contents were so shit that it smelled the box smell?
You just said the Blu-ray box smelled like shit. Your options are Thor Ragnarok, Captain America the First Avenger, and Doctor Strange. So which of those films do you think has the stinky Blu-ray?
I'm going for Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange.
I will explain my logic later if I'm right, like I always do.
Just keep. I think to keep this obviously the spirit of this question. I can't pick the same as Saul.
So you have Thor Ragnarok or Captain America the First Avenger.
I'm gonna say Thor Ragnarok.
It was Thor Ragnarok.
No, boo!
So, for all you buyers out there, the Thor Ragnarok is a 1 out of 10 film because the Blu-ray smells like shit. Not anything to do with the film.
See, I thought someone would buy the Doctor Strange on Blu-ray because it would look nicer. Because it's got lots of visuals. Like,
I guess, but then...
Thor Ragnarok's quite pretty.
Yeah.
It's a good movie. Thor Ragnarok, good
No, it's a 1-star movie because the box smells
like shit. Sorry, I already forgot.
Sorry, I already forgot. Like, he's warning us of that.
Yeah,
because
Taika Waititi wiped his ass with it.
What he personally with that copy of Thor, right? I hope he did.
Signed in a way.
I really hope, because think about it. It would
affect they say that your anus is more unique than your fingerprints.
Yeah, you know what I think, honestly.
Do you think there's one wiped by each cast, so that means I need to buy some to see if I can smell Jeff Goldblum?
Yeah, that's the one you're after.
To be fair, Jeff Goldblum...
Carl Urban, come on.
Jeff Goldblum, I think, is the only member of that cast who would let you crouch down by his derriere, Blu-ray box in one hand, sniff his ass, compare, and be like, I've got the right one.
I've got Goldblum! I love the idea.
I feel like Tom Hiddleston would not be so.
I love the idea of every cast and crew member, when a film is made, bending over one copy of the Blu-ray and just farting into it and just quickly snapping it shut and put down the set. So you could technically have Chris Hemsworth's fart gas. The thing is, though, the sad thing is there are people who would pay serious money to have the box that contains Chris Hemsworth's gas and be like, never open it, it's sacred. It's a collector's item. The Jeff Goldblum farted in Thor Ragnarok.
Okay, I pose you this, James. We need to get a copy of Thor Ragnarok, sell it on eBay, just under the title saying Chris Hemsworth farted in this, and see how much money it goes for.
How much money you get?
Hey, if you turned up at a con with the Blu-ray box and asked someone to fart in it, would you get thrown out immediately?
I think so.
Comic Con, you just went up to, I know
anyone, any member of the MCU. Like, let's just say Jon Favreau. You go to Jon Favreau, you're like, hey, John.
Fart my copy of Iron Man 3.
Yeah, fart because it was shit, and now it's going to smell like shit. The point is that I just wanted to include that one as my little bonus one, because when I saw that, I was like, I can't not put that in there. Just the fact that was a 1-star review.
I love that. It's such a good review.
Yeah, just smelled like. But the thing is, I was thinking, as much as I'm laughing about it, it was funny. That would colour your opinion of a film somewhat, wouldn't it? Like, imagine if you got a film, you haven't seen it before, you get the box.
Well, you buy the DVD first.
But the thing is, he says when I bought it, so he obviously probably ordered it online, because I imagine if you picked it up at the store, you'd be like, fuck it.
No, I'm assuming it was like... I imagine you... No, okay, I don't know...
Maybe it only smelled after he took the wrapping off.
Yeah, like it was sealed in.
No, bear with me. I do not open a new game case or DVD case and smell it.
No, not with games. With books, I do.
Books, yeah, I do with books. I don't do it with games.
I do it with everything. But I would understand. Like,
so it's a trap for your kind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Ugh.
So
Chris,
I truly believe that Jeff Goldblum did that. Because that, as you say, he is... let's line up the usual suspect of...
Yeah.
Yeah, I did it. It was me. Inhale and accept.
What's the line from fucking Jurassic Park?
You were so concerned to see if you could, you'd stop to think if you should.
I stopped, I thought, and I knew I should.
But the thing is, let's line up the cast of
Thor
Ragnarok and accuse one of them of farting a copy of the DVD. I think Goldblum gets...
Goldblum be my first bet. Then Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah.
And then Taika Waititi.
Do you think so? I think mine would go...
He's random enough.
I think mine would go Jeff Goldblum, Taika Waititi, Dark Horse category, Kate Blanchett.
Oh no, she's low key weird. She's under the surface. Weird.
Yeah, I think she would just take the opportunity.
Low key.
She would. The thing is, I think she would take the opportunity, knowing Goldblum's on set.
She'd set him up.
She'd set him up, and she'd go, because no one suspects Kate Blanchett. She was Galadriel. Galadriel doesn't go around farting.
Every elf. Yeah, elves don't fart.
She doesn't do that. Bam, does now. Crop dust.
She signs it saying, "This is Jeff Goldblum's fart." Farts it, closes it. Gives it
The mystery's got to be part of it.
Because it's perfect crime. Because there's just one guy who's how many people have suffered in silence from stinky DVD boxes?
Yeah, because I was going to say,
this is the first guy who's taken to the internet.
This guy who left the review didn't say because of Jeff Goldblum's fart.
No,
he doesn't suspect. He just thinks it smells like shit.
It smells like shit. He thinks someone flushed it. He doesn't know. He doesn't know that it was Kate Blanchett framing Jeff Goldblum in the hope that weuld get out the Jeff Goldblum farts DVD cases, so she could get away with doing it.
How is she framing Jeff Goldblum if no one knows?
Because he's him. Come on, because it's online. As I said, because it's no smoke without fire. If Jeff Goldblum's on set and a DVD turns up stinky, enough that someone complains.
It takes
Goldblum
a couple of visionaries
blamed.
like us.
Yeah.
To start spreading this around. And obviously we went for Jeff Goldblum, but she didn't count on us seeing through her ruse. She's somewhere right now, ears burning, wide awake. She doesn't know why she's so anxious. Because we're onto her. We've caught you, Blanchett. We've caught you. Someone tweet her.
Anyway, okay.
You find DVD boxes blocked straight away.
The point is...
Goldblum is... Hashtag
Goldblum's innocent.
Goldblum did nothing wrong.
So, anyway, that concludes that segment, and on to Saul's spooky stories.
So, we started with cannibalism. We'll end with cannibalism.
Hey.
No, but not necessarily. Actually, not cannibalism in a way. I wanted to talk to you about the Black Dolphin prison.
Never heard of it.
It's the Russian prison.
Where they...
It's basically you only ever go there if it's a life sentence.
Okay.
And you don't get to see daylight or anything. And
really?
You're constantly... Yeah, so basically, this place is filled with all the paedophiles, mass murderers, terrorists, cannibals, and as it's quoted saying, people insane. So it's pretty much just
Russian Broadmoor.
Yes.
Okay.
But mixed with just
KGB.
Supermax prison.
Okay.
Yeah, because obviously Broadmoor is for the insane.
Yeah.
The very severely mentally ill. Worse than prison, actually.
Yeah,
would argue.
Doped up to your eyeballs all day.
Yeah. You can't run ever. Stuff like that. But this sounds like it literally sounds like something out of Gotham City. It sounds like Arkham Asylum.
Well,
mixed with Blackgate Prison.
Well, that's the thing. So basically, when you're there, you have you and your inmate. You spend all of your time in your cell. You're never alone. You have 24-hour, 7 days a week surveillance on you. When you're being moved from building to building, you are blindfolded, so you can't ever get the layout of the prison memorized. You have no idea, basically. You also put in a position where, when you're out, you're accompanied by 3 people at all times if you're out of your cell, and one of those guys has a dog. So, and also one guy so you're handcuffed, and they push you at a right angle, so you're facing the floor, and you have to walk that way, hunched over, with blindfold on, with your arms like up. So the whole idea is basically that in that position you can't try and get out or run away. That, and also you're also blindfolded, so that doesn't help. You only ever really see guards and your cellmate.
I guess you don't get conjugal visits?
No. You don't get any communication with the outside world. No communication from the outside world. You get 90 minutes of exercise a day, and I watch the videos. It's not really exercise. There is a slightly bigger room, so again, no sunlight, but you get to walk around it with your cellmate. And I was watching the videos. It was like lions pacing a zoo pen, because it was just like there's not enough space to run. It's literally just walking back and forth for 90 minutes, and then you go back into your cell.
Aye.
They're fed, I think, twice a day on soup and bread, and they get fed in their cell. So there's not even like, because the thing is, obviously, in other prisons you have
dining halls. Yeah,
dining halls. So there's other people there, and obviously there's a lot more social. There's a lot of other people, but this is you get to see guards, that constantly check on you. Every 15 minutes they check up on you. They check your cells obviously when you're exercising, just in case you're like trying to sharpen something or something. No contact with the outside world whatsoever.
For the whole life till you die.
Until you die, yeah.
Christ.
Literally put them in a room and
Forget about them.
forget them. Yeah.
So, some stats. There's about 700 people in that prison, I think. And collectively, all of them together have murdered over 3,500 people.
Really?
Which averages out 5 people per person.
Yeah,
some higher than others.
Some more than others, yeah.
There's one guy that I watched the interview of, which was Vladimir Nikolaev, and he was their resident cannibal, and he was basically telling the story of like how he got into it. He only had he had less than average. He had 2 people that he killed,
But he presumably ate both of them.
Yeah, but so essentially he was drunk coming home from a night out, and he was entering his apartments, and there was a guy outside having a guy outside that just asked him for a light. So they got talking, and they end up having an argument, and the guy ends up punching him, and Vladimir punches him back and ends up killing him by accident. So he panics, drags him to his bathroom, gets him all the way into his flat, gets him in the bath, and just, in the interview he was like, well, what was I meant to do? So he cut the guy up. So he cut off his arms, cut off his head, and then he said that he had a thought, and he was like, I want to try him. He said, I didn't know why, but I just thought, I'll just try him. So apparently he cut a bit of thigh.
Yeah.
And he boiled it, and he tried it, and he said, I didn't like that. So he cut off another bit off and fried it up. He then cut up the remaining of the body and gave the meat to a friend of his. And his friend, not knowing what it was, gave it to his wife, and his wife made dumplings and things like that. And basically his family was... he told him that it was kangaroo meat, because they didn't have any kangaroos, obviously, in Russia. But it ended up like, obviously, this guy and his wife and her children and friends were all eating this guy.
So what you're telling me is it tastes quite good, because they all ate it.
Well, it tastes like pork, doesn't it?
Well, that's what I'm saying. So they all ate it, so it doesn't taste bad.
No, it's not. I don't think it's the problem is if it could taste good or bad, James.
So people unknowingly ate people.
No, I get that. I get that it's a person. I'm not saying, but I'm just saying that like the point is,
I don't think cannibalism was ever argued from the point of taste. It was the morality.
In Papua New Guinea, maybe. So the first guy this guy killed, he ate some and then distributed the meat.
Yeah,
a friendly neighbourhood cannibal.
A proper Mrs. Lovett, the pie maker.
Oh,
Sweeney Todd.
Mrs.
Lovett.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
Yeah, basically he just like gave the meat away, but it was kind of like in the interview he was like laughing throughout. He was like, when I gave it to her, and then she didn't know what she was eating, and she even fed her children like the dumplings and stuff. And he was like, ha ha ha.
Guy's obviously a little bit fucked up.
He did eat a person.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that may have been, if it pleases the court, that may have been the first indication of
Exhibit A.
Exhibit A, he ate a person. And when did he eat the second person?
I didn't say.
Oh, maybe that was less interesting.
It must have been just a nut.
He was like, well, his businesses are booming.
Yeah.
So was he interviewed while he was in Black Dolphin?
Yes.
So he did have some contact.
This was the first and only time
anyone's been interviewed while there.
Yeah. Oh. There was a documentary made, and I don't know why, but they agreed to allow But it's like, I mean, another thing is like the fact that like even when you look at people that got out, because there's been one person, not
broke
to
out.
No, don't be silly, James. No one's broken out.
Cool.
One person was appealed.
Okay,
that was it. Just one.
Really?
Yeah, the rest of them have...
had their sentence reduced, or they weren't guilty, or...
Yeah, something like that.
He it basically said, turns out, opposing Vladimir Putin is not the same as being a cannibal. And they said, yeah, it is, you stay. And then they let the cannibal out just to spite him. That's been the only appeal.
But that just seems crazy, the fact that like only one person ever...
has got out. Well, it is a hole to die in.
Yeah, basically. But the reason why I wanted to bring this up was the fact that, like, I wanted to bring it forth to the table. Like, I mean, yeah. Well, if you were a leader and you had, what would you do with them?
If I was a leader,
Well, I mean, like if you ruled a country.
if I owned a prison like that,
No, if you ran a country,
would I have a prison like that?
Well, how would your prison be?
But I think criminology, from what if I learned anything from my degree, it is that prison is too punitive on the minor offenders and not punitive enough on the major offenders. In the UK especially, we have very, very small sentences, which is stupid because small sentences go on your record and ruin your life. And when you're only in jail for like 6 months for tax evasion, because we have several schools of thought about what prison is for. So if I asked you now, what do you think prison is for? What would you say? Just one, if you had to encompass it all in one kind of theme, what would you say prison is for?
For the bad
Primarily.
people. Or the bad people.
what about
Anyone
the
that
bad
breaks
people?
the law goes there.
you've asked me this before. Punishment.
Punishment.
Yeah.
So Jonas is punishment. So about punishing the criminal for doing a bad thing.
Yes.
Whereas a lot of people would argue that you also have to say it's a deterrent. Prison is the punishment you put to bad people, but it's also to deter law-abiding citizens for breaking the law. Other people argue that prison is for retribution. It's for the victims of the crime to go, yeah, fuck you to the person who did it to them. Other people argue that it's about rehabilitation, that we should be trying to get these prisoners back into society as functioning citizens.
Problem with Her Majesty's prisons is they try and spin too many plates.
Yeah, and the other one is that people argue that prison should be about keeping society safe, fundamentally.
Take all the bad people.
Take all the bad people and put them away.
We will put all the bad eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
None of them will escape.
Yeah, exactly. So my point is that prison has all of these different roles to different people. But in prisons in the UK, the UK-based prison system, it's completely nonsense. It doesn't know what it's doing.
So, as I said, what would you do? Russia has many different prisons, but this one is for the worst of the worst.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's for the
So
worst of the worst.
maybe we'll stick with the worst for the worst.
Let's say for the worst of the worst.
Yeah, what is your max security like?
My max security probably doesn't exist. I don't think it's worth the money. I think if I had max security, there would be max security. Max security would just be a train ride to a small chemical shed. And you just pop round it and then the guard would walk back alone.
So basically, death penalty.
Yeah. Not. I wouldn't even extend it to murderers. That's not enough for me. People, murderers, rapists, all that kind of thing, but that's not enough. I mean, we're talking people who are
Mass murderers,
mass rapists, and that kind of thing. But if we were to talk about just major offences, my prison would be mainly just about keeping them regimented day in, day out through discipline until they succumb to illness or age. Manual labour, mainly. Function.
Because that's the thing, like these guys in this prison don't even have that. They literally just walk around a pen.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, obviously in other prisons they do a lot with,
Workshops.
tons. Yeah.
Make real good money because you don't have to pay prisoners minimum wage.
Yeah.
Something 90% of army clothes and dog tags and belts and helmets are made by
Prisoners.
US felons, yeah.
So yeah, that's what I do. That's what I do. With major criminals, with minor criminals, I would be purely about rehabilitation. But major offenders, I would just punish for lengthy sentences and regiment them and treat them fairly savagely. Not like whip them and kill them. But I mean, I would be like, it's not. You are here to be feeling unpleasant at 24/7. I think constant observance is one of them that really take away that freedom from someone. I would do that.
Yeah, because that's one thing that the inmate said of the Black Dolphin was the fact that it's so tormenting being
watched
constantly.
Yeah,
knowing that you're being watched.
In fact,
24/7.
Jeremy Bentham talked about that.
Yeah, it's the Benthamite Tower. It's the idea that if you have a tower that can see everything, you don't even have to have people in it.
Yeah,
people act like they're being observed.
Yeah.
It's the whole logic with CCTV cameras. If they're there, even if the footage is being erased every hour,
people will act like CCTV cameras there because no one's watching CCTV. Do you know how much CCTV is? The CCTV that's put into evidence is actually permitted. What percentage?
Probably
5%.
10%. So pretty spot on there. Like really low because they're just like it's so grainy you can't prove it's me. Anyway, but yeah, that is the thing. But I think observance is the worst one. It's taking away that freedom and privacy, much more than beating and cruelly treating them. I don't believe so much in that. The reason my closing thoughts on it is I feel like it is unnecessary. Because my argument is the reason I brought up the reasons for prison.
If they're there until death,
what's the point
of keeping them?
That's my point. My point is if you are, my point of prison is is that patrol from prison supposed to be a deterrent for major criminals? In which case, I'd argue you won't deter them. Those kind of criminals are going to do it.
But that's the thing. That's the thing I was surprised about, because obviously, I thought Russia, they would be the ones that wouldn't be too, above board to just go and just, kill them.
What I'm saying is...
No, that's for enemies of state in a foreign country.
Yeah.
My argument is that you cannot deter people who are that sick.
Yeah.
And I mean that, sick, mentally ill. I don't mean that, they're sick bastards. I mean mentally ill.
But you would be all right with killing the mentally ill, though.
No, but...
That was what you said. Like, if they're that bad...
Yeah.
Take them on a long train ride and take them behind the woodshed.
Yeah, that's
but you would kill the mentally ill.
Yeah.
Even if you would have to acknowledge that they might not have all the agency, someone who did something less evil.
Here's my argument with people in that situation. It's the fact that they're too dangerous to be left alive. You have to either inter them for their whole life, or you have to remove them. And my
either way, you're removing them from society by confinement or execution.
So my argument is the reason for that prison is the removal from society. That's what it is. That's the only reason for that, and a deterrent. Now, I argue it would fail as a deterrent because it won't deter people
the kind of people you take that aren't deterrable.
So it must be to remove these people from not just society but the general prison population, to which I argue if you have no intention to help them, you have no intention to deter more people by punishing them, if your sole intention is to remove them from society so utterly, save everyone money and just remove them from society permanently.
There's always the fallibility of the justice system.
There is.
One guy appealed and got out.
Yeah, but did he get out into the freedom of the wide world, or did he get out into a less bad prison?
Still.
Yeah.
At least he can get to a less bad prison as opposed to, we can try and Frankenstein him and put him in a less bad prison.
I get that, but the point is that I think it's crueler, in a way, the way those people are treated. I think that's cruel.
I agree.
To live 50 years like that, kill them. It's the merciful thing to do. If that's the only reason you are keeping them there, is to keep them far, far away. As made an example of.
Maybe it is punishment.
But that'd be my argument. I think if you are going to think like that, with the sole intention to punish and against the perpetrator, and you have no intention to rehabilitate them or reintegrate them into society at any point, as a government, then you should just remove those people. Okay. If that is your entire opinion to do it. That's not to say that that's what I would do with every criminal. I'm saying if you've got to that level where you've decided this person's irredeemable and pretty spot on guilty, then why are you keeping them around? If you have no intention but to let that person rot away in the dark.
It wasn't dark. It was actually quite brightly lit.
No, but you know what I mean. Like, metaphorically speaking.
Yeah.
It's
not sunlight.
Yeah. I would always err on the side of caution. So I would, if I ran a government, I would have people like that in a prison like that.
Because just in case it came to be
for all the cruelty I would heap upon them, I would allow them the right to appeal.
That's understandable, but I just think that...
It's like, I want to appeal. They're like, well, I mean, that we have your evidence of chewing the person whilst you're still alive.
The thing is, I think if I was to be introducing the death penalty, I would make it that it is, only... I would have... I don't know how I would do it, but I would have things have to be double-checked and triple-checked by different departments before it can even go anywhere near the execution, so to speak. Like, it would be the kind of thing where, say someone goes, I've put in evidence, here's an image of him eating someone on camera. I'd have to have that cross-verified by another department, another group of people who couldn't know one another, so there's no collusion and all that kind of thing. And I'd give it, say, a 10-year period before the execution could be carried out.
I was going to say, that's often what happens anyway with the executions, for the fact that there's a massive time.
Yeah, it's the reason why they have death rows, because guys are on it for so long.
Yeah, it's to allow evidence to surface, to defend them. What I'm saying is, it would be all that, because the thing is, again, this is not one case of murder. These people, because one case of murder, you do get innocent men in jail. I've never seen a recorded instance of an innocent man going to jail for the crime of being a serial killer. Or a multiple rapist. Again, people have gone to jail for being a rapist.
Or terrorists.
And they didn't do it. Exactly. Yeah. The point I'm trying to say is that because repeat offenders are you've got so much evidence against them
it
doing
accumulates.
it.
Yeah. No, I get that, but still, I would.
But still, no, that's the perfect... There's no wrong or right answers in this, really, bar we should kill every criminal ever, Judge Dredd style. The point is that it is just a purely philosophical and moral debate on whether you think and this is the thing. The reason I brought up the fact that
that's what I wanted to bring up.
The reason I brought up the fact there's 5 arguments is because even within the field that specifically studies this, people completely disagree on what the purpose of prison is.
Yeah.
Yeah, because again, a lot of people say rehabilitation. A lot of people hate the fact that we rehabilitate prisoners. They think they should be in there, half on fire at all times to suffer. And other people argue that there's no way to build a society.
Well, on a very serious and slightly depressing end of the podcast.
Yeah, go and think about that.
Yeah, go.
Late shift listeners.
Yeah.
Email us your suggestions for the penal system at shiftyfans at gmail.com.
Do you want to bring back the death penalty? Yes, no? What do you think prison's for?
Do you think
let us know.
If you say us, we'll understand.
Yeah.
Don't worry. We trust Val will be back soon to restore order. And
I have been Saul.
I'm Jonah, still.
And I am James.
Warden James.
Warden James. No, temporary acting warden in absentia. So anyway, that has been the wonderful circus of the skies. The Late Shift. Have a good evening.
Night night.
Good night, guys.